Brent, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. Last time I saw you, we were at the Mosinee Brewing Company. It's a little more of a formal atmosphere right now, but still a lot of reasons for people to be excited down here because there's, it might not look like it on the surface, but you do have some things kind of in the background that could be exciting here in the next few months.
Sure. Yeah, we've had some exciting stuff downtown, as you mentioned, with opening of the Mosinee Brewing Company, and that was last fall. We also had a new Mexican restaurant come to downtown, so that's been good. We've had a lot of people downtown take advantage of our facade improvement program, so existing businesses touching up their storefronts, and I think that'll only continue. The amount of interest we've had downtown since the brewery came from other business prospects has increased exponentially, and that was always the plan. There's no secret that the city, but also the state and regional partners and private commercial partners invested in the brewery substantially to make it happen, but that's because it was always thought that we needed an anchor downtown for downtown to come alive again, and I think the brewery is going to be our anchor as we go forward. So there's going to be some more excitement to talk about downtown. I'm confident in that. But downtown is not our only focus. We're a community, though small. We are proud that we have business in other parts of our community. We have probably, in my opinion, of course, though I'm subjective, one of the best business parks in central Wisconsin. We work really hard at making that aesthetically pleasing to prospects. We've done a lot of infrastructure work out there and repaving some of the roads, and it's relatively full. We also have a 153 East corridor as you come off of Interstate I-39 and would want to head into town. It's the 153 East corridor, so McDonald's, Subway, Kafka Granite, Quick Trip is out there. But we also have some vacant properties, and that has been a target of ours as well as we go forward. One of the things that we did was we adjusted the boundaries of some of our tax increment finance districts to also, just like downtown, allow us to do development on that corridor, and that's going to be where we're turning one of our focuses. On the edge of the 153 corridor, for instance, we used to have an old grocery store there. We demolished that, worked with the property owner to partner on demolishing it, and shortly after that, the property was sold, and we'll have O'Reilly Auto Parts is coming in this summer. We also have options for people who are interested right next to that. We've budgeted tax increment finance money to demolish some old housing that's rental at this point and work with the property owner there to hopefully get somebody in. And then towards the interstate, more up the corridor by Quick Trip, there's a large 7+ acre lot. It's prime real estate for development. You're right at, you've got I-39 exposure, you've got 153 state highway exposure, you're right by a major airport, major for our area. And so we did another third time now, first time in my tenure, we did a feasibility study for a hotel, and that came back very positive. And we're now shopping that out to some prospects and hoping that working with Quick Trip, who's the owner of the property, and these prospects and the city, that we can make something happen out there. Obviously, a hotel keeps travelers in our community, frequent our other businesses, brings in room taxes, brings in property taxes, and that's in our tax increment district as well. So that's one of our focuses, and I did mention the business park. Another focus of ours going forward is I'm always looking at the next 5 years and then the next 10 years and beyond. And I may not be here in that time, but I want to put the pillars in place, as any mayor should, for the next mayor and the next mayor after that. And so one of the things that we've continued to talk about is where is our next major commercial business district going to be? And right now it's the business park right across from the airport. But as I mentioned, it's been successful. It's getting full again since the recession. And we need to start looking at property elsewhere within our community that's going to be attractive for a business park. And that's a major investment. Those can have success or failure. To get a business park to happen at the front end, the city usually has to invest, hopefully with an anchor that wants to come in to start with, but that doesn't always happen. The city has to put in the streets, the sewer, the water, and you could be talking several $1 million investment at the front end that has to happen and attract new business to get the tax increment to pay off that investment. Those are all things that we've been looking at. The wheels sort of never stop churning up here, and but as with anything in government, it's a matter of money and it's a matter of time, and things tend to move slow.
Yeah, absolutely. None of this ever moves as quickly as you would like it to. And,
right.
And a couple of the things that you mentioned in there that are really interesting. And first off, the hotel. It kind of surprises me, I guess, on the surface that you've got the Central Wisconsin Airport right there that connects to the areas like Chicago, Detroit, and the Twin Cities, and you really don't have a hotel right there too.
Right.
It's flyers, they come in the night before, they want some place to stay. That's something that to me just seems like a real natural fit for that area.
Yeah, it really is, and we do have a hotel close by. It's up behind our subway area up there. It's been there for a long time, but what the feasibility study revealed was that we're losing a lot of our travelers that come into town, particularly to the airport. We're losing a lot of those to the Cedar Creek area, even the Wausau area, maybe Stevens Point. But I've always enjoyed, as I've traveled in my career, to stay close to the airport because then I don't have to worry about getting back, getting caught in traffic, and I'm right there when it's time to get to the airport and get on my plane. And I'd rather travel to my business meeting if that's in Wausau or in Stevens Point and stay closer to the airport. And that's what the feasibility study revealed, which is why it came back positive, and our hope is that we get something to happen here.
The next few years or so? Do you have a specific timeline on that yet, or not exactly?
Well, the study is positive, and it'll all depend on the interest of developers. Obviously, a hotel franchise has to find a developer to come in that wants to do that. And it'll depend on the flexibility of the city and the property owners. I mentioned the property is owned by a private entity right now. But some of that can be driven by a tax increment finance district. That's our ability to help out at the city's end. And we are coming up on some of our tax increment finance districts expiring. We have options to extend that beyond the expiration that's coming up. But what's important about the expiration that's coming up is that's our sort of drop dead time to take on new projects. So the tax increment district will extend on for a number of years beyond our deadline to take on new projects, but that's because you have to pay for those projects that you take on. You can't take one on 6 months before you close because you have nothing coming in to pay for it. You have to return it to the taxing entities. So we have some flexibility there, but sometimes hard deadlines are a good thing because they spur people to action.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Absolutely. Deadlines make decisions, deadlines make deals. You see that in your day job all the time, of course.
Sure.
And, something that it just makes the world go round, as they say.
It does, yeah. So there's a lot of exciting stuff. We're looking forward to that. But outside of our tax increment finance districts, there's other stuff to take care of. We've got to keep the lights on, but then we've got capital projects beyond that to keep a community moving and maintain our services. That's streets, that's fire protection, that's police protection, public works. And, we're doing pretty good there, but we had some tax increases for a couple years to get some things in shape. We had a $500,000 worth of public works equipment that needed to be rehabbed that hadn't been addressed in years. We had $4 million of local street repairs that had really fallen into disrepair. And some of that stuff just had to be cleaned up and addressed, and it's what I ran on as mayor the first time. So we looked at some of that when I came in, but we got to the point where I wanted no tax increase or a tax decrease this last time around, and that did happen. What that means is it's not as eventful of a season this year in terms of doing things like major street repairs and major capital projects. So you don't see us fixing the snowplow this year, buying a new fire truck, or repaving your street. We're fixing the potholes, putting the gas in the tank, and that's really about it. So it's always a trade-off, but people want to see services maintained, increased, improved, but they also don't want to see the property tax bill go up high enough, and I understand that, and so that's why I always try and maintain a delicate balance.
Absolutely. So you said no major street projects this year. You looking to maybe keep that going in the next year as well, or could we see some movement there?
We'll see. You know, the longer you don't do stuff, it tends to add up. It's just like a house. Well, I'll fix the water heater next year, and I'll fix the furnace next year, and I'll fix the roof next year, and then, heaven forbid, they all go at the same time, and, maybe you should have done one at a time. We try our best, but the longer that we let stuff sort of lag, it's just going to build up. I would like to see one more year of no property tax increase or a decrease, before we start talking about some longer term things again that we're going to have to address. So.
But you will have a street project coming up next year, but that's the state, right? 153 is going to get repaved, and that's not something that you're going to have to sink a lot of money into, right?
Right. So we're one of those communities that has a state highway that runs through it, all the way from east of the airport through the western boundary of our town, and that's State Highway 153. And that'll have to, it's in need of repair, and the state is scheduled to do that next summer, 2020. But outside, going back, to the property tax issue, a lot of people say, well, tighten your belt. Trust me, we do. When it comes to budget time, we have a list of items that could be done but don't have to be done, and they usually get axed, and sometimes it comes down to within $1,000 just to make the budget happen. So we really do cut every year, and that's something that, unless you're involved in the budget process or follow it, which I encourage all residents to do, you don't understand. The other thing we've done too to try and get stuff done but lessen the tax burden is always chase down other sources of revenue. We're a government, not a business, but there are other ways to find sources of revenue, and we've tried to do that. We're retiring a substantial amount of debt this year in our utility, and for the first time in my tenure and many years before that, we're going to be moving in excess of $100,000 a year over to our general fund to create a capital projects fund, to also lessen the property tax burden on the general taxpayers, and to recapture some of our top bond rates, which we had lost when I came into the mayor's office because the general fund owed the utility over $3 million, which it still does today, and that's going to start coming off thanks to some refinancing.
So good time to be a taxpayer in the city of Mosinee is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I think so, because I may be young, but I'm old school in the sense that I grew up here. I knock on doors, I talk to people of all ages, and I know that we, in addition to bringing in new, younger people in our community, we're still an aging population in Mosinee with people who are on tight budgets, some that live only on Social Security, and it's a big deal to them to have what some of us may consider a small tax increase. And I always keep that in the back of my mind as we go forward.
Well, we appreciate the time here for another edition of Mayor's Monday. We'll definitely look forward to seeing how some of these projects come to fruition in the near future.
Well, thank you very much for having me.